Hi, we're taping. Welcome to virtual yoga again. I believe this is episode, I want to say 44, I think, right? I don't think it's 43, I think it's 44. And we skipped a week because I was away, and so we skipped a week. But the library has renewed us for the month of September, so that's 8 more classes that you can count on virtually if you're still doing them with me, and you're just nervous about doing outdoor classes live in person with me or with another teacher. We'll have 8 more virtual classes over the course of September for you, so that's exciting. I hope you guys are all doing well and everyone is healthy right now. Most important thing right now, right? Healthy. I don't know. We're just going to get right into it. This class is going to be a class that is by request from one of my Friday morning yogis. She texted me, emailed me yesterday or today to tell me that her hips and her quads are super, super, super tight. So while I am going to focus on this in my live class tomorrow, I thought we would do a little bit of it today as well, so that when you take this class on Saturday, you can reopen your hips, re-lengthen your quads. You know, the hips are a tricky thing because no matter how often you spend time opening them, they get really tight again really quick, just by the nature of how we move and how we live our life and how we sit and sleep and drive and walk and run and the shoes we wear. It's tricky business, the hips. So hopefully today you will pick up a couple things, maybe that you've already heard me say or that you already knew, but that you can take with you. And when you're feeling super tight and uncomfortable, whether it's on your living room floor or in your bed or on the beach or while you're cooking dinner in the kitchen, just a couple little things that you can do to try to create some space in there where there isn't any space right now. So hips and quads. But as always in the process, your spine will get lengthened and your shoulders will open and your neck will relax. So, you know, I always tell you what I'm going to focus on, but always know that when you're with me, everything will get a little bit of attention and love in the process of opening the original thing, if that makes sense. So let's get started. Lay on your back, arms at your side, palms up. Close your eyes and start to take some nice deep breaths, okay? I was thinking that we would play with the strap because you know my favorite hip opener is the strappy one, but I'm a little uneasy not knowing that everyone who's doing this has a strap. So I think what we will do is do similar things without the strap and just use our arms and our hands to hold us into position so that if someone doesn't have a strap, they can still fully participate. So get comfy on your back. Take some nice deep breaths. Can you guys even believe that it is September? What is it today? The 3rd? Today's the 3rd, right? Or the 4th? I don't even know. I barely know what month it is sometimes right now. It's just so hard to wrap my head around the fact that we have been, for me, I have been teaching yoga virtually now for 6 months, right? April, May, June, July, August, almost 6 months. Crazy. It's crazy. This time period has gone really, really slow and really, really fast at the same time. It's bizarre, and it doesn't get any less bizarre as time goes on. It's just as crazy and freaky and weird to me now as it was 6 months ago. I think we're getting used to things, or we got used to things a couple months ago, and we've settled into rhythms and patterns, but it's still just so weird, right? So weird. We went to South End today to pick up Cam's Chromebook and a big bag of supplies that his teacher put together for him. He's got the sweetest teacher, and I'm so thankful he's got the teacher he's got, because we have a nice little friendship as well, and that always helps, you know, especially when it's just a crazy time like this, to have good communication with the teacher is valuable. But I'm really thankful he got the teacher that. And I'm so thankful for all my teacher friends right now, and I'm praying for them all, because this is just such a messy situation, and there's so much going on with parents and teachers and people bickering and saying terrible things. But my sister-in-law is a teacher, and a lot of my good mom friends here in town are teachers, and they're juggling kids, and they're juggling figuring out how to teach virtually, or teach virtually from their classroom, or teach half and half, hybrid and virtual. It's a lot. And I'm thankful for the teachers right now that are really dedicated and that are putting the work into it. When I picked up this bag from Cam's teacher, you could just tell that she put time into things. They were labeled, they were rolled up, everything was lined up and ready to go. And it's going to be a crazy school year, but I think having good teachers makes a huge difference anytime, but especially this year. So that's my blurb on that. As for me, I'm not at all ready for school to start. I don't know which way is up. I'm trying to figure out, Alex will be fine, because Alex is 14. He's not in 9th grade. He's a very good student on his own. He doesn't really need guidance or help. Cam's different. He's a different kind of learner. And so I'm trying to figure out what I can do here at home, now that we know that this is possibly a more permanent situation for a little while, to create a space that's conducive to Cam, conducive to learning and paying attention for Cam. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And so every time I go to Target or CVS or ShopRite and I've got his back to school list, I end up buying stupid things like muffin mix and apple juice and Gatorade, because I can't focus on the school list, because it seems crazy to me that we're buying this stuff but our kids aren't even going back to school. And I have this huge cabinet of school supplies that are like leftover stuff and things that were on sale last year that I bought, in triplicate. And so I bought stuff on the list that I knew we didn't have, but I'm wondering if he's ever going to use it. And I'm also wondering if he could just use half of an old notebook from 3 years ago, because he's going to be sitting at the kitchen table anyway. So it's a crazy time. It's a lot going on. It's a lot of anxiety. And yoga is so good for anxiety. So you're in the right spot. If you're feeling at all like me, just about anything in your life, a little bit wound up right now, having, kind of a difficult time settling and calming down and believing that this is all just temporary and everything's going to be okay, which I know inherently it is. It's just the back to school thing is throwing me for a loop. So if you're at all like me, you're in the right spot, and you need this time. So good job making this time for self-care. Lie on your back if you're not, arms at your side, palms up. Close your eyes. Start to take some really nice deep breaths in through the nose, drawing the breath all the way down into the core, holding it there for a second, and then slowly exhaling. Trying to make the length of your inhale match the length of your exhale. It's a little bit of a game. Play that little breathing game with yourself and see if you can make them line up so that you're just really in control of your breath, but at the same time it becomes very organic and natural. My favorite tea to turn into iced tea, and I just used my last tea bag today. So that silly, stupid kind of little thing is making me anxious, because I'm going to want it tomorrow, but I'm going to have to go buy new tea bags tomorrow. And I hate going to the store at this point. So that's where I'm at. That's why I'm walking a million miles a day. That's why I'm getting in bed at night and binge watching a mindless show or reading a silly beach book, because I need that escape just to get out of my own head. So I've been walking earlier in the day. It's a little bit cooler right now, which is nice. I've been trying to get outside by 8, like sometimes 7 even. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do when school starts, what my workout schedule will have to evolve into to accommodate Cam's schedule, because I don't really know his schedule yet. So, little much. All right, bring your arms out wide, palms up. You're in the big T, so if I was standing above you and looking down, you would look like a capital T. Maybe a lowercase t. I don't know, you'd look like the letter T. Use your core. Pull your knees into your chest. Take a twist, drop them over to the right, let them go all the way to the floor, and then focus on the left arm. I was watching one of my yogis on Monday night, and I know I say this all the time, but sometimes I don't always see it happen. I think I say it more out of habit and knowing that it does happen sometimes, but very often your legs will settle nice and easy and heavily, but your arm will kind of bounce in air, and you just can't get through that tightness that's right here in the front of the shoulder. And you have to give it time. You don't want your arm to be up above the ground. You don't want to have a big gap, but sometimes if you just take some breaths and you focus on softening and you focus on just letting your body melt into your mat, into the ground, eventually everything in here will loosen and the arm will start to settle on its own, and it'll become an easier pose for you. And it'll become a safer pose for you because your arm will be down and you won't be stressing out your joint, your ligaments, your tendons, everything that's in there that holds that shoulder together. So legs are on the right, arm is out on the left, and you're looking straight up or you're looking towards your left hand, depending on how your neck is feeling. I felt like I had something good to tell you, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it is, and this is really, this is really exciting to me. Maybe not to you, maybe to you, I don't know. But Parks and Rec has a new session of live outdoor yoga with yours truly available for registration right now. You can only register online, and there are 2 sessions per week. There's a Wednesday night class, which will be 6:30 to 7:30, and then there's a Friday morning class, which will be 9 to 10. The Friday morning class will be outside the front doors of the community center on Fairview Ave, which is where it's been for the last 2 months that we've been meeting. And the Wednesday evening class will be on the softball field near Panther Park, which is really nice for yoga at night because you get an amazing view of the sunset, and it's turf, it's not grass, so it's not buggy. And there's a chain link fence there, which sounds a little bit crazy, but if you have a strap, and if you don't, I have lots, but if you have a strap, there are things we can do with our strap and the fence that we wouldn't normally be able to do anywhere here in town that we would practice, because typically you would need to be in a studio with a bar or hooks in the wall or something like that. So there are a couple fun things that we can do at the Panther Park girls softball field that we can't do anywhere else here in town when we practice yoga. So if you're interested in doing that with me, the classes start, tomorrow is the last Friday morning of this session. The classes start 11 the following week. So not next week, but the week after that. And I believe it's a pretty big session. I believe it's a 10-week session. It runs right up until pretty much almost Thanksgiving. So we'll be wearing hoodies, but it'll be good. It'll be fun. It'll be nice to be outside. This past session went very well as far as people social distancing, and no one got sick. We were careful about taking attendance in case we had to backtrack and talk to anyone, but it went really well. So if you've been hesitant and you've been nervous, this is a nice way to ease back into it. Outside, lots of space, with me, who you should be used to by now. And as always, we will have a good time, and you will always leave feeling better than when you got there. So you can register through the Parks and Rec website. It's the only way to register. You can't hand in a paper or a check. It has to be an online registration. So, exciting news. Bring your knees up to center. Come on into Happy Baby, or one hand on each knee, letting the weight of your arms pull you wide, and using your body weight to pull you deeper into the pose. And then find your movement, right? Always find your movement. Always move around on the low back a little bit to release, and press the natural curve out of your spine. Flatten your back down into the ground, and just enjoy that feeling for a minute. Sometimes it takes your breath away for a second, but in general, it feels really good. And then bring your knees in, arms out, palms up. Drop your legs over to the left, and extend the right arm out to your side with the palm up. So legs are on the left, arm is out to the right. Let the arms settle after the legs naturally fall towards the floor. But take your time with the arm. If you've got that tightness in the front of your shoulder, take your time. Ease into it. Figure out how to make it work for you. That's so much of what yoga is, thinking through a pose, picturing it in your mind's eye, and then figuring out how to make it work best for you and your body and where you're at right now with your level of openness or tightness or just being comfortable in your own skin. Yoga is not a cookie cutter activity. It's very, very personal. So even though I'm guiding you through it, you need to figure out how to make it be what you need, right? This is your time. I'm just here to drone on and on and on and keep your mind off whatever's uncomfortable. I know I said this like 3 months ago, but I mean it even more now than I did then. I just want to go get a massage so badly somewhere. I have 3 gift cards in the center console of my car teasing me every time I drive to Target with my stupid mask and my hand sanitizer. All I want to do is go get a massage. Just wrap up in a sheet with a face mask on and let some stranger just manhandle my muscles. I can't think of anything more appealing than that right now. And I'm being totally serious with you. I'm in desperate need. At-home massages by your 9-year-old are not the same. He calls them chipmunk squeezes. It's not even a massage. It's stupid. Stupid, but I always say yes because it's the best offer I've got going on right now. All right, bring your knees up to center. Happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap. Go wide with your knees. Take the natural curve out of your back and find your movement. All right, feet to the floor. Keep the knees bent. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees go out to the sides, coming into Baddha Konasana or butterfly, just gently easing our way into a hip opener without a whole lot of jarring or movement or, anything. This is a pretty easy hip opener that doesn't involve any muscular energy because you're letting gravity pull the outside of your knees down towards the floor to open up the inner thigh as well as the groin and the hip muscles. All right, come on up onto hands and knees. Walk up to the front corners of your mats. Join me up here. What have you guys been up to? This is when I miss having conversation. Has anyone been to the beach? Has anyone gone someplace amazing to hike or walk or tube down the Delaware or read any great books or redecorated a room in their home? Anything going on at all out there? I know. We're planning on going back to the beach Saturday. We're going to milk it as long as we can. We're going to go as often as we can between now and when it gets too cold to sit on the beach. My kids are talking about wanting wetsuits for Christmas because they're going to bodyboard their way through winter, according to them. I don't know. We might not have anything else to do, so it might be actually a possibility. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feet are out behind you. Start to cat and cow, moving on your breath. So on an inhale, press down into that floor. Press the floor away from you. Lift the spine up, lift the shoulders up, drop the head. And then on your exhale, arch your back and look up. Remember your elbow creases. They're facing in towards one another. If they're facing me, look how white mine are compared to my arms. If they're facing me, you're hyperextending. You don't want to hyperextend. So you want that little micro bend and you want to move on your breath. You know how badly I'm losing my mind right now? You know what I did yesterday? I shaved one leg. Totally forgot about the other one. So last night we were out here watching TV and I was in my jammy pants and I had an itch on my ankle, and I scratched my ankle, and I thought, that's weird. I shaved today. There shouldn't be stubble. And then I touched the other leg for proof that I indeed shaved, and sure enough, one leg was smooth and one leg was disgusting. That's how bad I'm losing my mind. From here, to lengthen the hip flexors in the front of the hip, you're going to extend your right leg out behind you, curl your toes under. See what I'm doing? Curl your toes under, press out through the heel. This is so good. This is so effective, and it's such a tiny little stretch, but right in the back of the knee, it just hits everything. And I also feel it in the front of my hip, which is what I'm aiming for right now, those little band-aid shaped hip flexors. Bring that knee in, same thing on the other side. So the toes are curled under. See my toes? Curled under on the mat. Leg is straight, I'm pressing out through the heel. And then we're going to come from here into a wide knee child's pose. Obviously a hip opener, right? Knees are going out to the sides, hips are pressing back towards the heels, spine lengthener, shoulder opener. This is like the most underrated pose in yoga for opening so many things. Come on up. Let's just bring our hands to the small of our back. So the small of your back is right where the biggest part of the dip is, right? And then it's a little bit lower, so your fingers are kind of splayed out over your tush, and your hands are resting on that little bit of a bony area, like the pelvic girdle area. Keep the knees pressing into the mat, keep the feet out flat behind you. Just release your hips forward. I feel this so much in my quads, in the front of my thighs. I have a hard time opening the quads, and mine are tight a lot because I walk and I jog a little, and I kind of do other stuff, and I don't always take the time to stretch first because sometimes I just don't have the time, which is terrible, and I probably shouldn't even be telling you that, but it's true. It's true fact. Press the hips forward, shoulders come back. You're kind of playing with like a little bit of a moving camel here. Come on up for a second and then do the same thing one more time. Belly button forward, thighs forward. You can release the head back if you'd like. And come on up. There is this, I will never, ever, ever teach it again. Ever, ever, ever. That sounds like something from a Disney fairy tale. There is, come into a wide-legged. There is a, you hear that crack in my knee? There is a quad opener called Wounded Warrior, where you go against the wall and you go to the base of a wall, so where the wall is meeting the floor, and you inch your way in, inch your way in, inch your way in, so that your tush is against the wall, and you've got one knee bent in front of you like a lunge leg, and you've got the other kneecap down on the floor with the leg going straight up the wall. I can't demonstrate it for you because when I did it about 3 or 4 months ago during a virtual class that I took with one of my favorite teachers, I really, really screwed my knee up, and it hurt for a couple weeks. It was just too big of a pose. Even though I had done it a million times, I hadn't done it in a long time, and it was just too big of a pose for me, and I'm really scared of screwing my knee up. So it's a great quad opener, but there aren't a ton of quad openers out there, so I've got a couple in my head that we're going to play with today, and they should all be pretty safe. But here's what I want to tell you. If we do anything that involves bending the knee too deep, or just feels like it's not going to be a good idea for you, then come out of it, or come out of it altogether, or just loosen it up a little bit and don't go so intensely into it. This class is fairly benign in that I don't know who's taking it, and I need it to work for everyone who's taking it. So in my mind, if you're a really practiced, accomplished yogi and you're taking these classes, you can add and make things different, knowing what you can do and what you can handle. If you're not, then I just want you to get baseline from me. So nothing is going to be too big, but sometimes quad openers can make your knees feel funky, and I just want you to be aware of that and be cautious, okay? So we're going to sit in a wide-legged pose, opening up the hips a little bit because the femurs are going out of the hip socket at a different angle than they normally would. Inch your legs a little bit wider if you can, and then just come on down into a simple forward bend. Nice and easy, nice and comfortable. Nothing too extreme here. So your hip flexors, you've got them on the front, you've got them on the back, you've got them on the side. They are little band-aid shaped muscular structures that enable you to move your legs front to back, out to the side, and they get very tight and they're tiny. So in order for you to really open them and create space in there and lengthen them, you have to make the effort to do it. Opening your hips is kind of like right now we're just opening our hips just by sitting like this. But to open the hip flexors, you have to play with that a little bit. So we're just gonna start to circle right here in our pelvic girdle, creating some space. I can feel when I do this and I go back, I get this tightening right here. I can feel it. Something gets really tight and taut. And I think in me, I mean, you know, obviously I'm not a medical professional, but I think in me, it's one of the hip flexors on each side that is just naturally tight. And when I'm in that position right here, it's stretched to like its capacity, you know, its limit. So sometimes doing simple things like this, you know, when you're folding the clothes, you can do this on the floor, on the bed, or just every once in a while. This is the kind of thing I was talking about earlier, just having these little yoga tips for opening your hips, go the other way, that you can do anytime are just good to have, because your hips will feel great after you do a hip opening class. And then you'll leave the studio and you'll walk to your car, and by the time you get to the first stoplight, your hips will feel jacked up again. And nobody needs that. So you need to be able to figure out how to open them and create space without actually going to a class, because you can't always go to a yoga class. It would be nice if you could every single day, but most people in real life can't. So we're going to go towards the right foot, lengthening out. We're going to walk around, and we're going to go towards the left foot. And then we're going to come up to center. Right forearm down to the outside of the right hip, left arm up and overhead, looking up towards the ceiling if your neck feels comfortable with that. If it doesn't, then just keep your neck looking straight at me. That's fine too. It's a little bit less on your neck. So guard the neck, think it through, do what feels best. And then come on up, same thing, other side. What are you guys making for dinner? Have you given up on dinners? I don't mean that the way it sounds, but I mean like 3 months ago I was planning it through. I was shopping a lot more efficiently. I hate going to the grocery store at this point. I hate everything about it. Let's come into a twist. Right hand on the outside of the left knee, left fingertips, cupcake hand behind you, twisting. I don't enjoy going to the grocery store. It stresses me out. It causes me just to feel uncomfortable. I always have a list. I don't know what happens between the car and that front door of ShopRite. It all just goes straight to hell. So luckily my kids are not picky eaters, because we eat odd combinations right now. And if Mike can grill something, then that is what I will buy, because that's one less thing to have to do in-house. So just by sitting in this position, we're allowing our body to organically soften and open in the hip sockets. We're going to stay here for another minute. We're just going to play with our shoulders, because remember I told you that we're opening the hips, but everything will get a chance to soften in the process. So we might as well take advantage of the time and open our shoulders a little, right? So just follow along, right hand to the back of the left shoulder, left hand to the back of the right elbow. So we were at the beach last week. We had an amazingly good week. We took one of Alex's best friends with us, and the boys were just so happy to be out of their natural environment. And we didn't do anything there that we aren't doing here. The kids never left the condo complex. We ordered all of our food in. I grocery shopped once and just stocked up on the first night. We basically just spent like every day at the beach from 10 in the morning until sunset at 7:45. And they just had the best time, and it was just, I mean, we've gone to the beach a lot this summer, but it was just so nice to be somewhere different. I wish everyone could have that opportunity right now before we dive into the school year, because I don't think I realized how badly we needed a change until we were in that setting. And literally now, we've been home since Saturday. Literally now, circles with your wrist, Mike and I keep on looking at each other and just saying, oh gosh, I miss the condo. I miss the beach. We had the most amazing bed in our condo. The last day I ripped the whole thing apart to figure out why it was so amazing. And everything that I believe was on that bed is now in my Amazon cart. I think it was a regular mattress, but it had like a 3-inch memory foam, just a pad on top of it. And then on top of that, I believe it had a pillow top, like a fitted top with a pillow top. But I believe, I didn't realize this was a possibility until I went on Amazon to look, but I believe it's the extra thick pillow top. Because the very first night, we drove, 6 hours with 3 kids in the back, smelling like all kinds of nasty food and boy noises and boy smells. It was disgusting. So we got there, and that very first night that I laid in bed, I just thought, oh my God, this is literally the most amazing bed of my whole entire life. You felt like the bed came up and met you and kind of cradled you and hugged you a little bit, except you didn't sink. You just felt fully supported and loved by this bed. It was like the bed was the best parent in the whole entire universe, fully supported and loved you no matter what you did during the day. Every single night we'd get into bed and we would just be like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was heaven. And I really missed that bed. So I think I have found all the components that made it perfect, and we're going to try it ourselves, but I'm a little fearful that it's not going to be the same. So what we're going to do next is a dual pose. I was doing this one before in the very beginning. We're going to bring our left leg out in front of us. We're going to bend our right leg out to the side. So the right leg, let's talk about that for a second. You want the inside of the leg to settle down on the ground. That shouldn't be a problem regardless of whether your hip is super tight. I wouldn't think it would be. I don't know, but for the most part, I've always seen everyone be able to get their leg flat. If this is too much on your knee, bring your leg out a little bit more to the side and open up that angle. Your knee doesn't have to be a tight angle. It can be a bigger angle. So we're going to relax this leg. We're going to relax this foot. So what we're doing here is we're moving the femur in the hip socket in a slightly different direction and creating some space. We're also playing with those hip flexors on the front and on the side and on the back. So without even realizing that we're doing a whole lot, we're doing a whole lot on that right leg. The left leg, on the other hand, is the leg that we're going to play with the quad a little bit right now. So you're going to point and flex your left foot. This is also like stupid simple, but it always just feels good. Not as good as a massage, but it feels good. Point and flex, make some circles with your foot, go in both directions. And then flex that foot and start to walk out over that leg, seeing to how low and comfortable you can get. So I don't know if you saw me do it before, but this is kind of a weird pose. When we say engage your core and create space to fold deeper, this pose, you actually want to use your hands. And you want to take whatever extraness you have around your low belly, around your core, and you want to mush it into itself so that you can actually create space and fold super deep into the pose. I know that sounds weird, but it's efficient and it works, and you can fold deeper and get a better lengthening in your spine, as well as a more effective hip opener, in my opinion. So play with your low belly, your core, and see how you can shape shift things around to fold deeper into the pose for a minute, okay? Press the back of your knee into the ground as you're doing this. Uh-oh, what just happened? Okay. All right, we're okay. My phone was just telling me that I was at low power, but I don't think it did anything to the video, so I hope not. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. You're gonna come out of that pose. Now, you're gonna see with me, my right hip is my tight hip. It's tighter than my left hip. But my left knee is my knee that sometimes gives me a little bit of uncomfortableness. So I'm going to bring my right leg out straight. I'm gonna bend my left leg out to the side. Not as comfortable though. I can't sit up as straight on this side as I could on the other side. I can't explain why. I just know that I can't. So what I'm going to do is just move my knee out a little bit. I'm gonna flex my right foot. I'm gonna mush my tummy in a little, and then I'm gonna go for my forward bend, but it's not the same, and it doesn't feel the same. And I know that it's doing good things for me, but I don't like it when my poses don't feel uniform, even though I'm well aware that most of the time they're not going to. Still aggravates me, and this is one of those poses where I want my hips to be equally as loose, and no matter how much I play with them, I have yet to get there, and I may never get there. And that's okay, but it's frustrating to me. So this pose specifically is one where I don't feel it the same, and you may be sitting at home like me. You may be feeling the same way, like not sure if you're doing it right, not sure, what you should be doing different. Probably nothing. It's just anatomically the way that your body is made right now and the way that your body is feeling. So on the other side, I was able to put my forehead down on my quad and relax. On this side, I'm kind of leaning into my forearm. I'm a little bit more to the right. Not at all the same pose for me. But effectively opening my quad, my hip flexors, and the back of my hip on the right side. Let's see, can I get low? Not as low. That's a pain. One of the things that yoga does, supposedly, is help you get rid of your ego. But, human nature. Human nature doesn't want to let go of that ego. So, all right, come on up. Let's come on up into hands and knees. Move your blanket to the side if you've been using one. And I always like to sit up on one because it gives me a little bit of a better pelvic tilt. It makes me feel like I can sit up straighter and taller. Got darker outside. I don't know if it's supposed to rain or not, but it got a little darker in the last half hour. So spread your fingers nice and wide, curl your toes under, lift your hips, come on up into your dog. Find your breath here. I know dog's not a fancy pose. It's not an especially beautiful pose. It doesn't show a lot of grace or skill. Man, I love downward dog. It always feels good. Drop your heels, bend your knees a little, lift your hips high. Inhale forward into your plank. Engage your core here. Press out through the heels to lengthen through the hip flexors and to lengthen the femur out of the hip socket a little through the heel by creating space. Press back into your dog. And then gently come down onto hands and knees. Press back into a child's pose, any version of a child's pose that feels good. All right, so hands and knees, we're going to step forward with our right foot, bringing it just up to where our hands are. Back knee is going to stay down on the ground. All you're going to do is shift your weight roll over the front kneecap so that you're more above the front kneecap on the left leg, and let the right knee go out to the side a little bit. So you're opening the right hip by moving the femur out to the side. You're lengthening the left hip flexors and the quad here. This is a dual pose. It's like a double whammy of a pose. It's a good one. And then sit back onto your left heel and pull energetically, not using your hands, just pull the toes on the right foot back to flex that leg and lengthen everything in the back. And then come on up, back onto hands and knees, and start to cat and cow with me for just a couple seconds. It got so dark, I can hardly see myself in the screen. Okay, left foot forward. Roll onto the top of the right kneecap, shift your weight forward. Let that right leg go out to the side. I'm sorry, left leg go out to the side a little bit. You know what I've been thinking a lot about, and I'm not sure why, because I don't, okay, sit back on the right heel. I'm not a holiday rusher. I like the holidays, but I love summer. So for me, I don't want to let go of summer and move into Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. They'll come anyway, but I don't want to rush them. And I can't stop thinking about my favorite Halloween movie is Hocus Pocus with Bette Midler and Kathy, whatever her name is, and the other one from Sex and the City. I can't stop thinking about it, and I feel like everywhere I look, I see a t-shirt or I see something that has to do with that movie. Like they're super rushing Halloween this year. Come on up into dog. And I guess maybe people need something, like maybe we need something to look forward to, but I love Halloween in that I love making my kids costumes. And Cam keeps talking about Halloween incessantly, and I'm a little bit worried for him that there's not really going to be a Halloween, so I don't know. I'm stressed about Halloween. You guys, there's so much right now going on in my head. Walk your hands back to meet your feet. Come into a standing forward bend at the back of your mat. Cross your elbows. Drop your head, relax. And then we're going to release our hands and roll all the way up to stand. Adjust your pants. You know I always tell you to do that. Okay, let's just do a couple neck rolls right here. I like to go to the right first, but you can go to either side first. Just let your head roll around a little bit. Listen for those crackling, those Rice Krispie sounds. Maybe you'll get a good pop that'll feel like a release. That's always kind of nice. Oh, okay. All right. So, back down. Lay on your back. We've got one last quad and hip opener that we're going to do before we settle into Shavasana. And this is one that I want to talk to you about because I teach this one a lot. You've probably all done it with me a million times. But I want you to remember what I said before about how yoga is not a cookie cutter practice. So even though I'm suggesting you do something, if it doesn't feel right for you, then figure out how to make it feel better in your body or just don't do it, okay? I don't want anyone to have any kind of knee issue because you felt peer pressure from me coming through the screen. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. That would make me literally the worst yoga teacher in the whole world. So, lay on your back. I like to bring my arms out in the big T and make this a shoulder opener. Knees are bent, feet are on the floor, feet are wide, right? take them, like mine are off the edges of my mat right now. That's how wide my feet are. You're going to drop your right knee in, right? It's going to go inward towards the arch of the left foot. Maybe the inside of that leg will rest on the ground. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll hover above the ground because that's how tight you are. And this is a big quad opener, and this is a big hip flexor opener. So for me, I feel this the most right in the front of my thigh and right in the front of my hip where those hip flexors are. Where I was telling you I got like that tight tendon before, same spot. So if you want to make this a bigger pose, because maybe you're naturally really loose in those areas, if you want to make it a bigger pose, you can lift up the left foot, put it on the outside of the right knee, relax into that, and let that weigh the right leg down more. So I will comfortably do that on the other side, but on this side, it just feels like it's taking me too far into it right now. So on this side, I'm not going to do that. And please know that that's okay. You know, the more you practice yoga and the more you get to know yourself physically, anatomically, you'll know that some days something will work on one side and some days it just won't. And it might always annoy you like it does me, but you'll still know. And that's, you know, that's part of what makes your yoga practice great, because you get to know what to do to fix yourself. Bring that knee up. Let's just drop it out to the side to get the counterbalance. And then come on up. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start over. I'm going to go wide with my feet, reposition myself, drop the left knee down, and again, feel this in my quad, which is the big thigh muscle, as well as all those little tight band-aid shaped structures on the front of my left hip. I think when we think about opening our hips, we think about opening from the femur out through the socket. But there's so much more muscular anatomy in there that we need to pay attention to really get a good opening. And we just sometimes miss the mark on that. This pose, however, you can do this in bed at night. You can do this right before you fall asleep. You can do this in the morning when you wake up. This is a really good one for quad and hip flexors. And because you do it lying down, it supports you nicely. All right, bring it up. Let's bring it out to the side just to do the counterbalance for a second. And then from here, you guys are going to settle right into Shavasana, coming into a lying down position, if that's what's most comfortable for you. It might not be. You might prefer to lay on your side. Some people like to lay on their stomach and pull one leg up, like a really comfortable sleeping position. But you do whatever feels best. And we're just going to hang out here for, I don't know, a minute or two. Close your eyes and find your breath here. Inhaling and exhaling, trying to make the length of each action match. Getting a comfortable holding period in the low belly for that breath in between the inhale and the exhale. And letting your mind wander. Letting your thoughts just scatter for a minute. That's what I'm having a hard time with lately, with back to school and work stuff, and just, I don't know, just feeling overwhelmed by the situation for a minute. I'm having a hard time relaxing my mind. You know, like saying that you have so much going on in your head just makes you sound like you're a genius. And, you know, I'm not dumb, but I'm not a genius. But there's just a million thoughts going on right now. So every night when I get into bed lately, first I take my melatonin and then I do some breath work, and I put myself into a little bit of a Shavasana state, and I try to take each individual thought that's just weighing heavily on me, put it in a little basket or something, and just send it on its way. And that's how I like to fall asleep. I take my melatonin, I pray, I kind of go through a little bit of a grateful list in my head, and then I try to empty my mind a little bit just so that I can fall asleep and not have my thoughts racing. Most of the time it works. And then I wake up at like 5 in the morning and it's all back. Melatonin wears off and it's all back. But then we have yoga and we have walks and we have, you know, puppy kisses and Cam doing chipmunk squeeze massages, which suck, but the intention is there. So close your eyes. If they're not closed, close your eyes. I'm going to shut up for a minute or so. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes a little bit. Bring a little bit of movement back to your body. Open your eyes. Take a big stretch. Point your toes towards the space behind you. Reach up above you. Press your palms out towards the space behind you. My kids just came in the front door. It's going to get noisy in a second, so this is good timing. And then when you're ready, pull everything in, roll over to your right hand side and come up to a comfortable seated position, or pull your knees in, hug yourself into a ball and rock up to a comfortable seated position, whatever you prefer. Just get yourself up to a seat. Hands are going to come to your heart in prayer. We're just going to take a moment to inhale, exhale, and then share the word namaste, which means the divine in me honors and bows to that which is divine in you. I saw a t-shirt yesterday that said weirdest day. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it was all that's weird in me honors and bows to all that's weird in you. And I thought, well, that's probably more appropriate for me. But anyway, namaste. That's my YouTube email. So, okay, so hands to your heart in prayer. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Namaste. Namaste, friends. Thank you once again. Now look, it got brighter and lighter out. Thank you once again for joining me for our virtual yoga in my living room. You will be seeing this on Saturday, which will be the 5th. So we will next be together next Wednesday, which will be the 9th. It'll be our second day of virtual schooling, so I think I will have things to talk about with you. If your kids are going back to school like mine are, best of luck to you and to them, mostly to you. And just, stay healthy. Get outside and do some stuff. Do some extra yoga. And if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to do, especially in class, a request, you can email me on YouTube, or you can find me on Facebook under Stacey Valdez Davis, or if we're friends, text me, whatever. Just if there's something in particular you want to do, get in touch and let me know. Okay? Take care. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.